Hi, my name is Dr. Lisa Foglia, and I am a maternal fetal medicine specialist. I serve as the Director of Medical Education and Research at Womack Army Medical Center. We wanted to take a few minutes to address some common concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine for women who are pregnant, trying to become pregnant, or breastfeeding. Today's comments apply only to the Pfizer and Moderna mRNA vaccines available under the FDA's Emergency Use Authorization. I'm trying to get pregnant or undergoing fertility treatments. Is it safe to get the vaccine? Although the vaccine was not specifically studied in women who were trying to get pregnant, 23 women enrolled in the vaccine trials did become pregnant. So far, there are no bad outcomes reported. The American Society for Reproductive Medicine, the organization devoted to helping women safely achieve pregnancy, just released an updated statement this week. Their statement says, COVID-19 vaccination is recommended for women who are contemplating pregnancy or who are pregnant in order to minimize risks to themselves and their pregnancy. Based on the way the vaccine works, there is no biologic reason to suspect it could affect fertility. This advice is the same regardless of your age. We continue to get data through developmental and reproductive toxicity studies in animals, which are ongoing. So far, there is no evidence of damage to embryos or female reproduction. What about my partner? Can he receive the vaccine if I'm having fertility treatments? The guidance is similar for male partners of women seeking fertility. The vaccine should not be withheld from individuals who meet criteria for vaccination. We do know that fevers may cause a temporary decline in sperm production, but this is not expected to be any different than the decline in production if you had a fever from COVID-19 infection. I heard the vaccine makes an immune response against the placenta. Is this true? The mRNA for coronavirus spike protein has a very small area of genetic similarity to a placental protein called syncytin-1. Although very small parts of the genetic code are shared, the vaccine does not make an immune reaction against this placental protein. I'm pregnant and I heard that it's okay to get the vaccine. If the vaccine was not studied in pregnant women, why would we say that? This is a really great question. It's important to understand that most of the vaccines that we use in pregnancy were not studied in pregnant women at all. We use safety information from non-pregnant adults to help make decisions about what is and is not safe in pregnancy. The reason for this is that pregnant women have traditionally been excluded from participating in research studies, even ones that could benefit them or their unborn children. Unfortunately, this puts pregnant women and their providers in a pretty tough spot when it's time to make a decision about whether or not to get a new vaccine. To help figure out what we do in pregnancy, we have to consider a few things. First, we know this vaccine has been shown to be safe in non-pregnant adults. Next, we know that pregnant women are at higher risk of complications during pregnancy if they have COVID-19 infection. This includes an increased risk of ICU admission, intubation, and advanced oxygenation support called ECMO. If you have medical problems, such as heart disease or obesity, you're at even higher risk of severe infection, just like non-pregnant people. We've also noted that Black and Hispanic pregnant women are at higher risk of complications from COVID-19. There is also some data suggesting that there is an increased risk of premature birth and other pregnancy complications, and we continue to learn more about this as time goes on. The next thing we consider is if the vaccine will help protect your unborn infant. We think the answer to this is yes. When you receive a vaccine in pregnancy, the antibodies made by your body cross the placenta and protect your baby. This is the exact same reason why we recommend the influenza and pertussis vaccine in pregnancy. Newborns cannot receive these vaccines but can be infected. Finally, we have to consider the risk of infection to you and the amount of spread in the community. Basically, are we in a pandemic? We know the answer to this is yes. Based on this, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine, the Association of Women's and Neonatal Nurses, the American College of Nurse Midwives, and the Nurse Practitioners in Women's Health released a joint statement supporting vaccine availability to pregnant women who are eligible to receive it. I heard that some people get a fever after the second dose of the vaccine. I thought fevers were dangerous in pregnancy. A fair number of people will experience a fever as part of their body's immune response to the second dose of the vaccine. This can be treated with acetaminophen safely in pregnancy. In other circumstances, fever is usually a sign your body is fighting off an infection, And we think most of the pregnancy-related risks are related to the cause of the fever, not to the actual fever itself. Taking acetaminophen will not affect the effectiveness of the vaccine. What if I'm breastfeeding? Will the vaccine get into my breast milk? Sometimes we think that advice for pregnancy and advice for breastfeeding is exactly the same, but these are really two different situations. Based on the way this vaccine works, there is very little biologic plausibility that the vaccine could harm infants. The reason for this is that the mRNA is packaged inside a lipid nanoparticle. The nanoparticle, with the mRNA inside of it, is taken into the cells in the muscle in your arm, and the muscle cells use the mRNA to make the spike protein of the coronavirus. The mRNA is rapidly destroyed. The spike protein is what your body makes an immune response to. It is extremely unlikely that the lipid nanoparticle would enter the bloodstream to reach breast milk. Even if it did, it's even more unlikely that it could enter your breast milk. In the extremely unlikely event that it did, the mRNA would be destroyed by the baby's stomach acid. The Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine supports the use of vaccine in breastfeeding women. What do we know about the long-term effects of this vaccine? What we do know right now is that the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the known and potential harms of COVID-19 infection. We know that about 10% of people affected by COVID-19 experience what is called the long haul syndrome. This is a combination of symptoms that can include persistent fatigue, breathing and heart problems, and psychological or cognitive effects. These can have significant consequences for everyone and is certainly of concern for the well-being of our active duty personnel. We are still learning about the long-term consequences of COVID-19 infection. Unfortunately, we cannot predict who will be affected by this. We're in the middle of the worst pandemic in 102 years. This vaccine is key to helping to return to some version of normal. We know that pregnancy and being a new parent comes with a lot of questions. I hope this information has been helpful to you and has addressed some of your concerns.